Hey Substance Moms, I'm Stephanie Gutierrez and I'm so excited to be with you all today, and we're just gonna jump right in. So there is this new word that has appeared in our everyday vocabulary, and it's triggers. It's kind of a new buzzword. Have you heard it? You know, when I was growing up, we used to say pet peeve or that bugs me or that drives me crazy or that thing sets me off. But now we say, I feel triggered. And I think we use that word because it seems to better describe how we feel in those moments and also why we feel that way. Because there are certain experiences or people or words that can trigger intense emotions or flashbacks. And I was thinking about this and it made me remember some friends of mine who'd grown up in India and they'd moved here as young adults. And they were telling me about one of their trigger words. This was 15 years ago, so they just told me it was a word that was hard for them or made them feel unsafe. But for them, that word was discipleship. It was so sad to me, but in their church, the leaders had used it in this really twisted way to exert massive, unscriptural, abusive control over church members, and had created this culture of fear and oppression and codependence. And I felt so bad for them that this beautiful word, a God word that was intended to mean being a follower of Jesus, had become something so harmful and hurtful to them. Because God's word's intended to liberate us, to set us free from sin so we can find freedom in obedience to Him as His disciples. But I was just so proud of them because bit by bit, you could see them opening up their hearts to God to let Him show them what that word really meant. Well, friends, I had a trigger word in Scripture too. It was hospitality. As this is a recorded and public video, I'm not able to share the story behind why this is my trigger video, as the individuals in my story are still very much alive. But it's all good. The Lord has done a work in me, and it wasn't all because of some things that had happened. Honestly, since I was a kid, hospitality stressed me out. I thought I was horrible at it. Why, you ask? Well, I was the child whose super fun mom, she is the funnest mom, and she felt that I needed a sleepover with friends. So at 9 p.m. at said sleepover, after repeatedly hiding in the bathroom, I remember just asking her, could she just please take them all home? I was a great host, so fun. Life of the party, you guys. Until not long ago, I thought the basic definition of the word hospitality was planning and arranging events, cooking fantastic meals, anticipating your guests' needs, being 100% happy that they were there, never minding when they did not pick up on your clues of I'm tired and want you to leave. And I know fantastic hosts and people like this. No, I really know people like this. It's my husband, he's the people. He is the most gracious and generous and thoughtful host you will ever meet. He is an insane cook, you guys, an insane cook. He can set a table so beautiful it would make Martha Stewart cry. He offers people's beverages as they walk in. He invites them to sit down. He's this storyteller that paints the most vivid pictures when he talks. He hooks you in, and I will look at people watching him tell his stories and their mouth is just hanging open, hanging on every word. But then beyond just telling stories, he also asks you questions. He deeply listens. He creates these spaces where people feel so loved. I am really inspired by him, honestly. And I'm not kidding about any of this. Like, none of this is an exaggeration. There are some of you watching this who know him. You've been to my house. You are nodding your heads right now because you know. So there's him, and then there's me. And up until like 5 years ago, if I invited you over, even if I really wanted you to come and I was excited to see you, I would invite you in. I would warmly hug you in the entryway and then just stand there and talk to you for like a half an hour until you asked me if you could please sit down. I did not think to take your coat or offer you a seat or give you a glass of water. I did not show you where the bathroom was. I had no really plan for our time together. I was really nice. I would ask you lots of questions. I was a great listener, but I was just so unaware. And then if there's a party at my house with lots of people, even if it was just friends, they just came to expect that Stephanie would just disappear every 45 minutes or so to go to the bathroom or grab something. And I would literally run up to my bathroom and just like sit there quietly for a few minutes and breathe so I could just get my bearings again, and then I would come back down. Even if I was having a fun time. This is just what I would do. Maybe sometimes still do. That's not weird, right? But I just constantly felt like this hospitality failure. I don't think I was half as bad as I thought, but you know how it is. You just judge yourself really harshly. And then, of course, I have superhost husband. People kept coming over, though, so I can't have been that bad. But I wasn't great according to my definition of it. And I've changed a lot. For those of you who are wondering, living in Peru as missionaries for 10 years has profoundly changed me. Peru has actually a huge culture of hospitality. And having guests over constantly, both Peruvians, visiting mission trips and friends, made me figure it out. You know, sometimes life has a way of making you good at the things you were terrible at by forcing you to do them. And I'm really thankful for that. So now, when you come to my house, I take your coat. I might offer you something to drink, and I almost always invite you to sit down. I know, it's impressive. And I only leave to go to the bathroom a max of 2 times. And one of those times I actually do have to go to the bathroom for real. So, like my friends from India, I had to change the way I saw this biblical word, hospitality. And that included changing the way I saw guests. How do you see guests? As sources of stress? As an obligation you have to check off? As something you don't really want to do, but you know you'll be glad you did it afterward? As takers who come to eat your food and sit on your couch and won't leave? Or as valuable individuals made by God, as opportunities to show God's love, as fun or interesting or new, as people who have something to offer and give. Because, friends, what you see is what you'll get. And here's where I got stuck. I had limited my definition of the word hospitality to the house and guests to the people who crossed my threshold. I remember this one day, I think I was in the car, and I just remember complaining to God. It was a deep kind of complaining about how crummy I felt I was at hospitality. I'd read one of my stress verses, it sounds so great to say, 1 Peter 4:9, which said, "Show hospitality to one another without grumbling." Oh, I grumbled all right, because there are a lot of verses about hospitality in the Bible. And I remember just yelling out, frustrated, "Lord, why did you put this huge gift and desire for hospitality in my husband's heart and then make me so crappy at it?" And then he answered me so unexpectedly. I remember he said, "Stephanie, you are hospitable. Hospitality is more than a thing you do. It's an attitude toward people. It's helping people feel at home in who I've made them to be. It's helping them feel at home in their own skin." And I actually gasped out loud. I was by myself, and in that moment, I realized that despite all of the hiccups and bumps of doing hospitality at my home, there was one thing I had become good at, no matter where I was at. I was a safe place for people. I could help them feel loved. Sure, I blindly missed a lot of their physical comforts, but I never missed their emotional state. And that's my superpower, is picking up on how someone feels. And some of the most precious words that I get to hear are, "I've never shared this with anyone," or "I can't talk about this with many people, but I feel safe with you," or "I know we just met, but I feel like you understand me." And those words make me want to cry. And that day with God, I did cry. He healed something in my heart, because maybe I'm not a rock star at making people feel comfortable in my physical home, but I can help them feel comfortable in the skin of their own home. I can show hospitality to their soul. And what is it that stops God's gift of hospitality from flowing through us? I really think it's fear. Fear that someone will take my time, my possessions, my peace, my energy, my joy. And what is it that liberates hospitality? It's love. Because fear is closed, love is open. Fear holds on to, love lets go. Fear hides, but love seeks. And when I love God and I trust Him, I'm not afraid of what will be taken from me, but I'm aware of all I have to give. And when I love my fellow human beings, I don't see them as takers. Beyond even seeing them as opportunities, I see that they have something to give. So what are some of the hallmarks of true hospitality? A hospitality that's a way of life and an attitude of the heart. The biblical Jesus kind of hospitality. The hospitality of the heart. True hospitality, as Henry Nouwen says, creates a free and friendly space. Let's take that apart. What's free and friendly? Friendly. How do you best do friendly? Well, you're friendly when people feel accepted when they're with you, when they feel at home. And a qualifier that doesn't require you to approve of all of their behaviors. Some people will try and demand that of you. That's not it. I'm speaking in general terms. Think of Jesus. Think of what he did and how he did it, how people felt around him. This is when people walk into your space with their hearts perhaps nervous and tight, but in your presence, they begin to relax. You put them at ease. And we all do that in different ways. Your way might start with a thoughtful gift, or a meal, or an invitation to sit down. Or it might start with a hug, like one of those really awesome real hugs that warm me up from the inside. Or maybe it might start with a question. You might be really good at getting people to laugh. So think, what are some of the unique ways God's given you to be hospitable? And then we listen, because friends listen. They talk too, but real friends ask questions and truly listen. So on a side note, if you're always the friend who's talking and never listening, let me challenge you. It's time to ask God to help you change that. Friendly is personal. And then what about free? What's a free space? Okay, this is not inviting people in so we can change them into who we think they should be. It's inviting them in so we can accompany them on the discovery of who it is that God has made them to be. This isn't a boundaryless receptivity. The best kinds of homes and spaces are ones where there are some rules and some boundaries, where the person's kind and also confident in who they are and what it is they have to offer. So what does free space look like? Well, what does it not look like? So have you ever stayed overnight at someone's house where they tell you what to do the whole time and you feel the house dripping in detailed rules and feel like you are always breaking one? Or maybe you're with a different host and they feel the need to constantly entertain you and to feel that to leave you alone for even a moment is to not be a good host. So they just keep talking and staring at you. How free does that feel? Or on the other hand, have you been to a house of total chaos? No rules, no boundaries. Everyone does whatever they want, whatever time they want. They don't offer you anything and just think that giving you your freedom is to let you fend for yourself so you can just have and do whatever you want. And you end up feeling uncomfortable and a bit ignored. Okay, so a free and friendly space neither ignores nor controls. It flows. It considers the needs and the personality of the guest, but also respects your own needs. So in a free and friendly relationship, I give you the space to not only be yourself, but to also, in my loving presence, discover even more of who God has made you to be. And so that leads us to two things we're called to recognize quickly. First is recognize that you have something to give. And I see this because in our culture today, I think we tend to want to outsource everything to specialists. And do not get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of specialists. I believe in specialists. I love specialized doctors and wellness professionals. I love therapists and counselors. I myself am a life coach. I have my own coach and I've seen a therapist. Love them. But specialists aren't your friends. Specialists were never intended to take the place of community and relationships. We downplay what we have to offer. I'm not certified. I'm not qualified. I'm not licensed. Probably you should talk to someone else. Hey, are you a child of God? Then guess what? You have something to offer. And we misinterpret something to offer. We think it means fix or give advice or a solution. There might be moments when that's a part of what you offer, but the greatest things you have to offer are love and listening. As Nouwen says, a free and friendly space. You have prayer to offer. Never discount that. What is more powerful than love, full attention, and prayer? Nothing. And then the second is to recognize that they have something to give. Every person who walks into your life has a gift to give you. Every person. So get curious. What is their gift? Because if I have an attitude of curiosity about what it is that they have to give, I'll listen to them differently and I'll interact with them differently. I challenge you to look at every person and think, what is their gift? What is something I might learn from a story they share? Even with difficult people, what's something I'm learning about myself that I see in them? Or maybe what's something I don't want to do? Or what's something I do want to do? Curiosity creates questions. Let's go beyond small talk, you guys. Let's ask them some really good questions, like what teacher left the biggest mark on them in high school? Or what's their relationship like with their siblings? Ask them about their best childhood friend. Ask them if they could go back to school and learn a new skill, what would it be? And if it's the right moment and they're open, ask them about some tough stuff too. They have a gift to give you. So open the gift and see what you find. I bet you'll be surprised. Surprised at what they have to offer and surprised at what you have to offer. Don't count yourself out. I'm so glad that I didn't. So let's show hospitality to someone's soul this week. And it won't hurt to offer them a glass of water too.